Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. As you know, Tyson Fury has apparently activated the rematch clause for his for the rematch with Oleksandr Usyk following his defeat a couple of weeks ago. And I've heard a lot of people say, or ask the question at least, will Fury go through with the rematch? Now, of course, none of us know. Does anyone know what Fury's going to do, including Tyson Fury? All we can do is speculate. But I would say that it's reliant on one thing, and that is how much Tyson Fury feels he's got left. All right. Because if he looks at that first fight and he thinks, okay, I can improve on that. I made that mistake. I should have done this tactically. I can be better. I can be physically better prepared, maybe, whatever it is that goes through his mind. If he genuinely believes it, then I think he can take the rematch, and he will take the rematch. Because there's no doubt that now that the hook on which he was hanging everything, which was his unbeaten record, is gone, the only road to redemption is to reverse the defeat and gain so-called revenge, which of course would still make them one each. So you would presume that if he was to win the rematch, they'd have a rubber match. But he's got to actually believe that he can beat Usyk in the rematch for him to even go ahead with this fight. Otherwise, he'll find a way out. Now, if you remember the build-up to the first fight, not that long ago, is it? But the absolute, for the year, at least a year before the fight, Fury, as far as I'm concerned, was never confident about fighting Usyk. He called him a middleweight and a rabbit and all this garbage, absolute rubbish. I never bought into it for a split second. Certainly the videos I made illustrated that I wasn't buying into it. And it wasn't that I felt that Fury was scared of Usyk as a person. No, he was scared of losing to Usyk. He was scared of losing that zero, which he's now done. Again, because that was everything to him. That was everything on which he hung his legacy. If you break down his record, prior to the Usyk fight, he only had 6 world title fights. 3 were against the same guy, and you know the story. So for him to make the claim that yes, I'm the best of my generation, I am the best heavyweight ever, and all this rubbish, he had to have that zero. That zero was now gone, and I always felt that he was fearful that Usyk could beat him. Not scared of Usyk, scared of being beaten. Now, as we know what happened. And in fact, we know that he wasn't just beaten, but he was on the verge of being knocked out in the 9th round. I'm someone who thinks the referee actually didn't do too bad a job. I know that a lot of people, some people, you get these idiots who say, well, the referee was paid off and all this bullshit. These people are just conspiracy theory numpties. But I think the fact that the ropes held him up, the referee was entitled to call it a knockdown, which it was. The ropes held Fury up. Fury then more or less sort of regrouped after a fashion and went the distance. So I think the referee can be justified. It's not like in the 10th round Fury was knocked flat. No. He came back. He hung on, and he has a reputation for doing this. He gets knocked down, yes, but his powers of recuperation are very, very good. And so it proved in this fight, even though he was hurt worse than he's ever been hurt before, and he had the living tar beaten out of him by Usyk in that 9th round, he still came back. I mean, I think Fury takes a lot of credit from that Usyk fight. But there's no doubt who won, and that was Oleksandr Usyk. Whichever way you slice and dice it, he won most of the rounds, and he punctuated it with a very, very heavy battering in the 9th round, a very heavy knockdown. So Fury's concerns, all the messing around of Usyk for at least a year prior to when they fought, I mean, at very least a year, 18 months maybe, of, moving the goalposts in negotiations, and Usyk would accept, and then Fury would want something else, and then he wanted the what he considered to be a gimme against Ngannou, which was free money, and then of course he suffered the knockdown, and he didn't come in shape regardless of what he says, and that farcical or horrendous Derek Chisora 3 fight, which was one of the most cynical cash grabs I can remember ever in boxing. Believe me, I've watched boxing for an awful long time, for many decades. All of that garbage, to me, indicates, as well as his demeanour, the fact that he couldn't get into Usyk's head, that all those so-called mind games, which really amounts to sort of playground bullying, rather pathetic. He knew he couldn't get into Usyk's head. He was very, very erratic as far as his behaviour was concerned. There was that very odd press conference, or would you even call it a press conference in Morecambe? I suppose you would. No one from Team Usyk was there, but Fury held that and then just went into a sort of litany about how, sort of ramble about how, the smaller guys never beat the big guys. They step up, and if I can't beat him, I'm no good, and he's just a middleweight, and he's just a rabbit, and all this. Look, all of this smacked to me of someone trying to convince himself, never mind anyone else, that what was coming out of his mouth was true. It's just that, of course, you can't lie to yourself. When your head hits the pillow, you know what the truth is. And so I think finally, having been cornered into taking the first Usyk fight, having had it backfired that he was going to try and age out Usyk or wait for a sort of little chink in the armour, which perhaps he saw with the knockdown that wasn't against Dubois, Usyk versus Dubois. He then thought, okay, it's now or never. I've got to jump now. If it's ever going to happen, it's got to be now. And it backfired on him. In a sense, he aged himself out, not Usyk. And that was very, very clearly illustrated with that appalling performance by against Ngannou. So he's got to now decide, Fury. Okay, what do I adjust? How he could start with his corner. That would be a good place to start. But he can begin by not putting on a ton of weight between two fights, looking after himself mentally as well as physically, studying what's gone wrong, listening for a change to the people around him who actually know something. So Andy Lee would be one of those. Sugar Hill would certainly be another. One would assume he's hired as the head trainer. And looking at it with a sort of a pair of humble eyes and saying, okay, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, I should have done that, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Put it all together in your head and then think, okay, if I make these adjustments, I reckon I can win the rematch, and believe it. Not half believe it, think, okay. Now, if he gets to that point, I think he takes the rematch. If he doesn't get to that point, and I'm not convinced he will, I think he'll make an excuse and either go for a Joshua fight, which he might consider to be more winnable, or bow out, having made tens of millions of pounds. But although this is all speculation, again, it's I don't say this with any inside information or anything like that. I think he needs to have that belief, proper belief this time, not 80% of it, or even I don't think it was even 80% that he believed he could beat Usyk the first time, or that he would beat Usyk. Certainly, he can beat him, but will he beat him? He's got to see something. He's got to piece it all together in his often chaotic mind and decide, okay, here's what went wrong. Here's what I can do better. Here's what I can do right. Here's what I'm not going to repeat. And you know what? If I do, if I do all this, I reckon I can reverse the result. So, what is your opinion? Do you think Fury can right what he perceives to be a wrong, or do you think Usyk's just got his number? Do you think Usyk's just plain too good? There's no doubt that Fury had a lot taken out of him in that fight, but Usyk as well. That purple patch in the middle where Usyk was sucking up uppercuts and wob shaken, and I mean he's such a tremendous fight, such a tremendous warrior, real savage, quiet savage Usyk. But it took something out of him as well. But I don't think Fury can rely on that. I think Fury's got to look at himself, where he is in his career, what's he got left himself, and then forget about whether Usyk's big enough, good enough, whether he's a rabbit, whether he's an ugly gap tooth so-and-so. Forget all that crap and just concentrate on what you're good at. He might learn from a few other fighters who suffered defeats, gone away and very quietly gone about their business and rebuilt. Yeah. Would I pick him to beat Usyk in the rematch? Probably not. At the moment, definitely not. But as I say, there is a long, long way to go before they get in the ring again. And just because that rematch clause has been activated, don't think that we're anywhere close to this fight happening again. I think we've got many, many months. Well, we've definitely got many months to go, but many, many hurdles during those months to get over before we see Usyk versus Fury Part 2. I hope it happens, but I'm not holding my breath. Not yet. Not until about 2 days before the fight, maybe like the first one. But let me know what you think. Comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Hit the like button as well. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments. As always, thank you for your time. And yeah, we've got the weekend upon us, the 5 versus 5 to look forward to. So I'll do some review videos for that. Meanwhile, until then, take care. Bye for now.